Royal scandal. Prince secretly marries his older love. Emotional story. Beneath the gilded halls of royalty, a young prince wandered, restless with a heart that dared to dream far beyond the golden walls. He was born into the corridors echoed with whispers of duty and expectation, yet his mind lingered on a presence that had long captured his secret longing. She was older not by a decade, but by the wisdom she carried like quiet lanterns in the dark corners of his soul. He remembered the first time their paths had crossed in the quiet library, where books smelled of distant lands and forgotten stories. Her eyes met his with a knowing glance that made him forget the world outside. Those moments were fleeting yet eternal, imprinted on his memory like a secret melody he could hum only when alone. Every evening he would find himself wandering near her garden where roses bloomed like small fires in the moonlight. She moved among them with graceful hands and laughter that spilled softly like the trickle of a hidden stream. He admired from afar, longing to speak words that might betray the tempest of feelings growing within him. The court whispered of marriages and alliances of power, yet none of it touched the ache in his chest. Each decree seemed hollow compared to the warmth of her gaze. He dreamed of conversations in quiet rooms where the world would not intrude, of walks in hidden forests where time bent around their shared laughter. I wondered if she felt the same, if the silence that passed between them was filled with unspoken yearning. One night, under a cloak of darkness, he found courage in the beating of his own heart. He sought her out in the small cottage at the edge of the city where moonlight danced on the window panes. She welcomed him not with surprise, but with a gentle smile that spoke of patience and understanding. They spoke of books and distant lands, of forgotten music and dreams too fragile for the disarray. Their laughter mingled with the night air, carrying secrets that only the stars could witness. Days turned to weeks and weeks to months, yet each stolen moment felt like an eternity of intimacy they exchanged. Glances that held unspoken vows and whispered confessions that could not survive the scrutiny of the court. He knew the risk, the danger of scandal, yet he felt more alive in those moments than he ever did in the halls of power. The world outside could demand protocol and obedience, but inside the small universe they created, they were free. He began to leave small tokens of his affection tucked into the pages of her favorite books, a pressed flower, a folded note with lines of poetry that spoke of longing and devotion. She returned them with equal care, weaving messages of hope and quiet courage into each gesture. Their love became a secret language, a silent symphony known only to them. The prince felt torn between duty and desire, the weight of the crown pressed against his shoulders, yet each encounter with her lifted him higher than any throne could. The knowledge that she loved him, not for his title, but for the man behind it, filled him with a kind of reckless joy that defied reason. He imagined a life away from the court where mornings began with her laughter and evenings ended with her hand in his. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting gold upon the palace walls, he knew the time had come to act. He sought out a private chapel hidden within the castle where few eyes could intrude. The priest, who had served generations, looked upon the prince with a quiet curiosity, as if sensing the magnitude of the choice. He was about to make the doors close behind them, shutting out the world and all its demands. They exchanged vows not with pomp or ceremony, but with whispered promises that spoke of eternal devotion. Their hands clasped their hearts, intertwined as if sealing a covenant that transcended time and expectation. No witnesses but the fading light and the gentle hum of prayers that rose like incense in the still air. Their marriage was a quiet rebellion, a testament to love that refused to bend before tradition or fear. Afterward, they walked through the palace gardens, hand in hand, feeling the thrill of secrecy, mingled with profound intimacy they shared. Smiles that carried centuries of longing and whispered dreams of the life they would build together in the shadows of marble, statues, and fragrant blooms. They felt like ordinary lovers in a world that demanded so much of them. Yet the world outside did not pause, the court murmured. Of rumors and the scent of scandal drifted through the gilded halls. The prince moved with careful steps, navigating the treacherous waters of duty while guarding the precious secret of his heart. He discovered that love could be both a shield and a flame, of force that protected yet consumed. He cherished every stolen moment, every glance, every brush of fingers against fingers in the hidden corridors of the palace. Through the seasons, their bond deepened. They shared quiet mornings reading together, the soft rustle of pages blending with the distant calls of birds. They wandered through meadows at twilight, their laughter echoing in the open fields, free from expectation, free from scrutiny. They spoke of dreams of travel, of lands untouched by crowns, and crownsmen of music and art, of stories that would outlive even the harshest judgments of their world. As years passed, their love remained an unbroken thread, a tapestry woven from patience, courage, and unwavering devotion. They faced the subtle tests of jealousy and intrigue, yet each challenge only strengthened their resolve. Their secret marriage became a fortress around their hearts, a sanctuary where they could be fully themselves, where the world could not intrude. The prince often reflected on the strange and beautiful journey that had led him to this love. He thought of the quiet library, the moonlit garden, the whispered promises, the folded notes hidden in books, each memory a jewel, shining with the light of a devotion that defied logic and tradition. He knew that history would speak of him as a ruler, a prince bound by duty, yet in the chambers of his heart, he carried a story of love so profound it reshaped the very notion of courage. And so they continued their quiet rebellion, walking side by side through the palace and the city, through the gardens and the forests of their secret world. Their love a poem written in glances and gestures and moments too, fleeting for the world to notice, yet eternal in their souls. They had chosen each other above all else, and in that choice they had discovered the truest meaning of freedom, the deepest form of happiness, the quiet power of a love that refused to be constrained by age or expectation. The prince and his older love became legends, not for battles won or crowns held, but for hearts entwined, for a story told in silence, for a bond that endured beyond the gaze of the court. They were proof that love could be brave and tender, fierce and gentle, enduring, beyond the confines of society, beyond the shadows of rumor and scandal. Their story whispered through the corridors of time, carrying the promise that true devotion knows no boundaries, no rules, no end. In the hush of night, when the palace slept and the moonlight painted silver patterns on the walls, they would sit together, content in the knowledge that they had chosen rightly. That love, though secret, was richer, more profound, more alive than any throne could ever grant. They held each other close, feeling the pulse of hearts, aligned, the rhythm of souls intertwined, and in that sacred silence they knew they had. Found a world more precious than any jewel, more enduring than any crown, more extraordinary than any story told. The seasons turned, and with them, the world. Outside continued its endless demands, yet inside the walls of the palace a quiet revolution unfolded. Their love grew stronger, each day in ways that words could scarcely capture. Each glance carried 100 unspoken promises, each touch a reassurance that no force could undo. The prince moved through ceremonies and councils wearing the mask expected of him, yet in the shadows of his thoughts her presence lingered like a warm ember in the coldest night. He found joy in the small rebellions of their secret life, the hidden notes, the unexpected meetings in the palace corridors, the whispered laughter shared beneath the heavy drapes of the royal chambers. She had become his compass, his refuge, his confidant. The wisdom of her years guided him. Through the labyrinth of politics and expectation, he listened to her counsel as he had never listened to any advisor. Her insights were sharp yet tender, her words gentle yet filled with fire. The court saw only a man dutiful, a prince composed, yet behind his eyes burned a secret fire only she could ignite. One evening, as autumn leaves drifted lazily through the palace gardens, he found her seated beneath the old oak tree where they had first shared stolen words of longing. The light caught her hair and cast golden shadows on the path. He knelt beside her, silently feeling the pulse of the moment, the gravity of their choice and the serenity of the love they had nurtured. They spoke of dreams not yet realized, of journeys that might never be possible, of a world outside the palace where freedom was not a luxury but a birthright. Their conversation was a delicate dance, weaving reality and fantasy together into a tapestry only they could see. They dreamed of wandering through distant cities, hand in hand, listening to the melodies of unknown streets, tasting the aromas of markets that spilled over with colors and life. Yet duty called, and the prince could not abandon the realm he had been. Born to govern, he carried her within him like a secret banner through the trials of court, intrigue, the whispers of ministers, the envy of peers, the careful negotiations of alliances, all faded against the steady rhythm of her love. That love had become his anchor, his compass, and the pulse that reminded him of his humanity. Winter came with its quiet frost, and long nights they would sit together by the fire in a private chamber, sharing warmth and stories of worlds imagined and half remembered. She told him of her youth, of paths she had walked alone, of dreams she had kept tucked away in the corners of her heart. He listened rapt, feeling the weight of her life entwined with his own in ways that were profound and irrevocable. Rumors of scandal began to swirl through the palace, though none could ever point a finger directly at them. The prince moved with careful steps, guarding the delicate secret that had become the heartbeat of his life. Each encounter was precious, each moment fleeting, yet eternal in the landscape of their souls. They became masters of silence, architects of hidden worlds where love reigned supreme. Beyond the eyes of the world, spring arrived with its blossom and fragrance, bringing a sense of renewal. The prince and his older love walked through gardens where tulips and daffodils danced in the breeze. Their hands brushed and lingered in ways that spoke of devotion deeper than any words could convey. The light fell softly on them as if blessing their union in silence and grace. They began to dream of permanence, a life beyond stolen moments, a future where they could breathe without fear. Each conversation hinted at the possibility of a home away from prying eyes where laughter would not be stifled by expectation, where hearts could beat freely in time with each other. The prince imagined mornings waking to her, smile evenings ending in her embrace, and the gentle rhythm of lives, intertwined without interruption. Yet the weight of the crown and the scrutiny of the court remained ever present. The prince knew that secrecy was both a shield and a cage. Each encounter carried the thrill of rebellion, yet the risk of exposure loomed over them like a shadow. They learned to cherish even the briefest moments, to find eternity in a single glance or a whispered word. Their love became legend, within their own hearts a narrative of courage and devotion that defied the constraints of time and society. They celebrated small victories, the quiet triumphs of stolen smiles, shared in empty halls of whispered laughter, echoed in the gardens after midnight. They discovered that true love was not the absence of danger, but the presence of unwavering commitment to each other. One night beneath the stars, they spoke of eternity, of a love that could outlast crowns, and kingdoms of devotion that would endure even when their names were forgotten. The prince held her hands, pressed to his heart, feeling the pulse that matched his own. He realized that love was the truest form of power, the most sacred rebellion, the quietest revolution. As the years rolled forward, they continued their secret journey, walking side by side through the shadows of palace life, yet illuminated by the brilliance of their bond. They shared books, music, and stories of imagined worlds. Their laughter became a counterpoint to the rigid rhythm of courtly life, a melody that softened the sharp edges of duty and expectation. They faced whispers, envy, and subtle attempts to unseat the quiet happiness they had built, yet each trial only strengthened their connection. Each challenge was met with courage, each obstacle with resilience. Their marriage remained unbroken, their love unshaken, a testament to the enduring strength of hearts that dared to follow desire and devotion over protocol and fear. Through it all, the prince never forgot the first spark of connection, the moment she had looked at him and seen not the title but the man behind it. He carried that vision with him through all the pomp and protocol, the endless corridors and expectations. The love that had begun in silence and secrecy had grown into a force that defined his existence and reshaped his understanding of life. Together they discovered a world where love and courage intertwined, where freedom was found not in defiance, but in devotion, where every glance held centuries of unspoken promises. They had chosen each other, and in that choice they had found a power greater than any crown, a joy more enduring than any treasure, a sanctuary more sacred than any palace. And so the prince and his older love continued their quiet rebellion, living lives entwined with trust, devotion, and secret happiness. They moved through the world with hearts aligned, spirits entwined, and a story that would echo through time, not for the eyes of the world, but for the eternal chambers of their souls. Their love remained a poem written in gestures, glances, and moments too, precious for the outside world, yet everlasting in the sanctuary of their hearts. The winter snow melted into early spring, and yet a chill lingered in the palace corridors, not of weather, but of whispers carried on, careful tongues. The prince felt it before. He saw it, a subtle shift, a presence of watchful eyes always nearby, yet in her arms he found the warmth that no rumor could touch, the solace they